그리고 이번 행사는 김포시 협력으로 이루어진
will not keep any secrets. Happy means no place. We know this. We are flawed, yes. We will find out why they wouldn't talk to me. I remembered I had $51 in my piggy bank. So I
pitch wasn't that is interlaced with that.
Okay, and so depending on where you have to run which team, that's your hit frequency sort of change, right? So the reason we like to start with this
very large scale, and I wanted to make sort of a
Yeah, that was a short introductory video of CICA Museum. And ISVC is an international platform for diverse and critical perspectives on visual culture. Through ISVC, we aim to create a global network of researchers and artists and consumers and makers of visual culture, and foster critical thoughts and in-depth understanding of visual culture on a global scale. So, and now I would like to invite our presenters for introductions of their works. And please welcome Sigal David and Leejin Leon. And correct me in case I pronounce, not correctly. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. David and Leon. Yeah. Could you introduce yourself?
Okay.
So my first name is Sigal, last name.
Sigal.
Yes, it's okay. It's a bit confusing. My bank still think I'm Mr. Ben, so that's fine. And
I'm Les St. Leon.
St. Leon. Yeah. Nice to meet you.
Yes, great meeting you all.
Yeah.
So I'm a photographer. I actually ordinarily I don't like to be defined so harshly because I think it's kind of narrow it the moment we try sort of define. And also as a photographer, there's always a certain idea, for most part, a certain idea. If you're a photographer, it's immediately talking about either a documentary or something kind of capture reality. And I like to think in a more conceptual or abstract term and challenge this idea of photography. So I was saying like photographer, but an artist and all this stuff. And
I'm a oil painter, and I do a little sculpture. And
he's a fine art artist.
Yes.
Yes. So most of our work, I can say, we kind of do separately, but we do
some projects together.
Yeah, but and we assist each other a little bit. But there are a few projects that actually we work together, and there's something interesting in a way that we always say it's a work of three people, of myself, of him, and a third artist that kind of created with the two of us. So it's no longer the two of us in the studio. It's almost like as a third person is there. So it's something also interesting how we try to work together, the photography and the fine art and working together. I can show a little bit of the work we're actually presenting here. I just don't want to get too much into the work because we're going to do it later, and I don't want to repeat ourselves, but I can show a little bit. So this is actually one of the work we did together. In general, we're doing in more of a broad term, we kind of look into the idea of identity and how we define ourselves. And in this particular project, it's through objects, but there's so many, and memories, but clearly there's so many ways we define ourselves. And I'm an immigrant in some way. So I was born in Israel. Sorry, I didn't say. I was born in Israel, and actually Les and I met some 20 years ago in Australia, and now we live in New York City. And in between, we traveled around. So there is something about the need to redefine in some ways and reinvent your identity when you live in different places. Whether it's a matter of culture or language or nuance into this stuff. And you want to talk a little bit about that? I mean, we're going to talk about ourselves because it's related. So I'm trying not to get too much into the later presentation because our background have much to do with the reason we chose to talk about memories and objects and identity. So we're going to talk a little bit about our background a little bit later, but yes, that's about it, I think.
Yeah, thank you for your introduction, and we look forward to your presentation. Yeah, in the session. Yeah, and William A. Brown. Yeah. Yeah, nice to meet you. Could you turn on the mic? Yeah.
Yeah, okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay. Well, looks like I'm the oldest guy here, and I have been doing this, for a long time. I live in Atlanta, Georgia. I've been teaching at Emory University for about 30 years. I started the art department there. I actually have an MFA in photography, and I decided to, come move to Atlanta after I got that, and back to Atlanta. I went to college here, and I started a video business. I've been making videos to earn a living, and then I gradually became a full-time professor at Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia. My work is all over the place in terms of, I don't really like to say I'm specific to one media so much as I sort of like to think of myself as someone who works in between media. Like the films I do are they're films, but they're also photographs that move, if that makes any sense. And when I show these works later, hopefully that will make some sense. My latest work, over the years, I've shown her, lots of international festivals and everything, and I've, had a pretty, I'm not a famous artist, but I've had a pretty, acceptable sort of showing portfolio in terms of international shows and, places that show my work over the years. But, I've never made any money as an artist, and I think that's not unusual these days. But I remember reading an article about a painter who got paid $90 million for a painting and thinking, what's wrong with this picture? The world's full of really great artists and only 1/10 or 1/1,000,000 of 1% of them make any money doing art, So I tried to work on a way that, we could sort of use technology to sort of spread the wealth around a little bit. And this is very odd. I sort of got interested in using in the whole sort of movement, robotic painting movement, which is just starting right now, and it's not really perfected. But it's an interesting thing because it has the potential to make painting this very close to what photography is in terms of you can mechanically reproduce stuff, with these robotic machines. And I became interested in producing sort of what I call pre-paintings, works that would work as paintings, but created digitally that can be transferred to paintings when these painting machines come online. So that's my current work, even though I've been known as a filmmaker and an experimental filmmaker for years. I've sort of been influenced by minimalist filmmaking, and I don't know, you guys know who a guy named Michael Snow is, who I consider the sort of the great artist of the 20th century. And I've sort of, done that kind of work. And now in my older days here, I'm sort of trying to work on a way to democratize, fine art painting. And that's when we start talking about the work, I will show some of those pieces. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Yeah, I look forward to your presentation. Yeah.
All right, thanks.
And Minyoung Kang. Yeah. Minyoung Kang.
Yes, yeah. Hi, my name is Minyoung Kang. I'm very honored to meet everyone, and usually I make printmaking and photograph and video and writer theory based on studying the art history in university. So in particular, I record the human psychological insight into human life through combining visual, imaging, and text. So I can show some images. So sharing print. Like this. This is my photo, and I write a daily text and write a novel. So this text is combining with photos. So yes, thank you. Yes, that's all.
Yeah, thank you for your introduction. Yeah. And
thank you.
We look forward to it. And Eliseo Ortiz. Yeah.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really, really excited about the rest of the presentations. It all sounds really, really great, really amazing. My name is Eliseo Ortiz. I have a background in film studies, in media studies, in documentary filmmaking, experimental cinema, and I have been making games more recently. Like, I started to think about my work in terms of relational art and conversation and, like that kind of stuff, in which I invite people to perform certain things with me. So I create situations in which I am trying to get to things collectively. I don't know if that makes sense. I'm gonna be showing a couple of things later, but that's where I'm coming from, and that's where I am right now, like making this kind of work that has to do more with the performance of it, with going out to the public space and doing certain things out there, and then through that being able to deliver certain arguments and certain messages. So in terms of what I do, like what is the content of it, I'm very interested in the intersection between the experience of migration from a very subjective point of view, and then the intersection with mass incarceration. That would be sort of where I'm putting my work, and sort of trying to unpack the complexity of these, because there is a lot to think about when we think about the policies of a country in relationship to migration, especially in the United States right now. So my work deals with trying to interrogate that situation, this perverse connection between incarcerating people, deporting people, and what is the experience for immigrants dealing with that kind of stuff. So I'm very concerned about that. I'm very concerned about geopolitics. I'm very concerned about borderlines. So my work has to do with also thinking about the space and thinking about how we inhabit the space and what is our relationship to that. So the work that I'm going to be showing is this puzzle that I'm going to be talking about later. It's a jigsaw puzzle. I don't really want to spoil the piece before really talking about it, but I'm going to be sharing a couple of references that I think that are going to be interesting to you, just as like sources that I'm using to contextualize this work, and other references, books and things that really help me in clarifying some of these ideas, and I'm going to be presenting this in the session number 2 at 1:30. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and we look forward to your presentation. Yeah, and thank you. And Agatha Park.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
hello. So I'm Agatha Park, and COVID tried to stop us from gathering, but here we are. And I'm very excited to be part of this conference today with all of you. So I hope everyone is safe and healthy, and I am participating from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania in the United States. I'm a new media artist who often works with augmented and virtual reality, which I will explain more in my presentation. And I create projects often thinking about cultural identity, women's issues, and the physical digital experience. So today I will talk about Gangnam Makeover, an ongoing participatory augmented reality project in South Korea for this year, 2020. The project gathers Korean women's thoughts about beauty and superimposes these messages over the numerous cosmetic surgery advertisements that fill a specific subway station in the Gangnam district of Seoul, South Korea. The project functions through a central website and an augmented reality application that is freely available to download from the Google and Apple stores. The project aims to make over a public space that propagates a restrictive standard of beauty into a space of solidarity and imagination for women. So I'll play a short trailer video of the AR experience. And I am back. So during my talk, I'll go over the artistic, technical, and cultural background of the project and share some of the messages that have been submitted through the project. And in light of the pandemic life, I also hope to share some insights about the experience of remote digital to physical curation that I've had. And I'm excited to share this project through an institution in Korea, finally. And I look forward to learning about your new projects today too. Thank you.
thank you. Yeah, I look forward to hearing more about the project. Yeah. And Jennifer, Sova, and Jeanne, Donegan.
Hi. Yeah, my name is Jeanne Donegan, and I'm part of a collaborative team with another artist, Jennifer Sova, who is going to be joining me later today for our main presentation. I am an artist living in Chicago, Illinois, in the US, and have a background, like I refer to myself, I guess, as an image-based artist. I work with photography and video mostly, and my work focuses on like feminist ideals of sensuality, sexuality, pleasure, and autonomy. And Jeanne, my collaborator on this project, focuses on work that deconstructs masculinity a lot. We met together studying photography at Columbia College in Chicago, and found we just had a lot of overlapping interests. And so we worked together on this short film called Thrill of the Chase, which is what I'm going to be presenting on today. And that film deconstructs across horror and romantic comedies to kind of talk about the way male ownership is represented over women in film. So I'll read my actual statement because that'll say it more articulately. So Thrill of the Chase is a compilation of sounds and visuals from over 50 American films across romantic comedy and horror. Iconic romantic gestures become menacing when positioned next to a thriller chase scene. The act of splicing these opposing genres together leaves little to no distinction between the tropes of the Hollywood hunk chasing an ex-girlfriend to the airport and the stalker following a woman down a dark alley. Through these existing portrayals of male violence and ownership, Thrill of the Chase questions the danger of mainstream American cinema's reinforcement of a white heteronormative love that consistently places men in the position of power. So I'm just gonna, I think the easiest way to talk about this is just to show I'll show a short clip of it, and then we'll show the entire film during our presentation later this afternoon.
Why do men chase women?
There's the Bible story. God took a rib from Adam and made Eve. Now maybe men chase women to get the rib back.
Is that him?
Please leave me alone.
You know how this is gonna turn out, don't you?
Please just leave me alone.
Holly, I love you.
Where are you going?
What's the matter with you anyway?
Let me go.
No.
Fred, please let me go.
You're crazy.
What, do you think you own me?
That's exactly what I think.
I know that's what everybody always thinks, but everybody happens to be wrong.
All right, so that's just a snippet of what that's about. That's one of my favorite portions of the film. where it goes back and forth between the scene from The Shining and the scene from Breakfast at Tiffany's, which are, you would put at total opposite ends of the spectrum, but when they're put together like that, they're shockingly similar. So that's me. Thank you for having me, and I'm excited for my collaborator, Jeanne, to join us later.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your introduction, and we look forward to your presentation.